Welcome back, Pokemon Trainers. Professor Chaz here. The lab code's on back order, and I wake up today to record Pokemon Silver for the day. I gotta get ready for a Pokemon Go outing, but as it turns out, the new trailer that they were promising us for, I thought it was supposed to be Friday, but today, for Thursday, Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon, new information has come out. I'm not going to show the trailer itself, but you'll see there's a link down below the video, plus in the description, so feel free to check that out. I want you to see this in its entirety. I'm not going to show the trailer itself, because I know there's an issue with copyright and stuff like that, but I'll show you some of the screenshots. The music for the new Evil team is pretty awesome. I'm just going to say that. Plus, seeing all the stuff in action, in motion, you got to check this out for yourself. But let's do a little breakdown of the trailer and see if we can show you some of the highlights. Bear with me as some of the video quality might not be super good. My internet's being kind of annoying. But 3 new Pokemon from the Alola region in Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon. They do show us Wishy-Washy in its solo form. The ability it has is called Schooling, and as it says in a moment, like this is kind of a standard looking fish. It's, what is the term? I think I'm going based off Animal Crossing knowledge. This is where I learn all of my real world knowledge from. Neon Tetra, I kind of think. I'm not sure if that's the exact kind of style fish that this is, but as you'll see, if we can see a screenshot of it against a Gyarados, it is a pretty tiny looking fish. Come on, show us the Gyarados. I don't think we're going to get to see it, but it is a tiny, tiny, tiny little fish on the screen, and Gyarados goes for a Hyper Beam against it, basically takes it out. But they say when Wishy-Washy hits a certain level, when Wishy-Washy reaches a certain level, the ability of Schooling does come into play. And a bunch of these Wishy-Washy all merge together into the School form, which is this giant tank submarine kind of a thing. And some of them look a little bit different, of course, like they're black with the light blue eyes and everything. And I don't know what it means by when it reaches a certain level. Maybe it's like it's an ability that won't come into play until the Pokemon is at a proper level for it to happen. So it doesn't look like it was basically taken down and the Schooling is an effect of being hit by something. It just looks like it basically can become School form. Maybe if it's below a certain amount of health or something like that. Plus, we don't know what kind of stat changes we're looking at. I would think it would become slower, but more defensive. Maybe more offensive because there's more fish combined into the School form. I don't know, it's hard to say what's going to happen, but we do see it go after a number of impressive opponent Pokemon, like the Gyarados gets schooled by Wishy-Washy. It does go for, goes against Electivire with Aqua Tail, I believe, and then Hydro Pump on Metagross. Can we see the Hydro Pump? Look at this. Now, you'll see in this trailer, a lot of the a lot of the attack animations have been increased, of course, and differentiated from previous generations and previous battles. The Hydro Pump looks pretty crazy. It's just splashing all over everything for what seems like an extended amount of time, but that's kind of the idea of Hydro Pump. It's the most powerful water move, or at least it was back in Gen 1. And the Hyper Beam that Gyarados uses also has the same sound, but the beam itself looks different. So I'm going to talk about that in a little bit of later on in the video, about how the attacks look different. But another new Pokemon after Wishy-Washy has been shown, Pyakumuku. Now, I'm obviously pronouncing that incorrectly intentionally. It's actually probably pronounced Pyakumuku. And from the sounds of it, it sounds like Pucus Mucus. I know that sounds gross, but wait, there's more. As you check out the more not stat information, but you'll see the ability Innards Out. This is based off of a sea cucumber, and the defensive mechanism of the sea cucumber is, of all things, to turn itself inside out. And I'm not exactly sure how that's defensive. It's like basically taking the innards and saying, now you can't touch me. I remember a fun little side story. I went to a marina or aquarium somewhere around the maritime area down in, I believe it was St. Martin's, and they had a touch tank with all these different sea creatures like clams and starfish and stuff, and you could pick them up and just touch them and see what it feels like. The starfish would just kind of wrap around your hand, and I picked up a sea cucumber and thought, oh, this has got some pretty good mass to it, and I put it back in. And I later found out from somebody else trying to pick up another sea cucumber that we're not supposed to touch them. And I went back and looked, and sure enough, the one that I picked up was turning inside out. And I thought, uh-oh, what did I just do? But I'm pretty sure it was fine. But that is the ability of this Pyakumuku. And I don't know if we're going to get to see it or not, but we see, first of all, I want to point out that we're fighting against a Minior, the Minior core. And now look at this shot. This, I believe, is Ancient Power, which is just an updated graphical display of Ancient Power, but I love the fact that they have fossils in these rocks and they're going to launch them at them. Now, it's interesting that they chose Ancient Power for the attack to show this off, because as the Minior's core hits Pyakumuku, the ability Innards Out kicks in, and Minior's HP drops from 50 down to, you'll see 34. Like, it drains down quite a bit. My first thought is Innards Out might be like Aftermath that we've seen in Pokemon. Like, I think Weezing has it, and Stunky and Skuntank have that. But I don't know if Innards Out is going to be an ability that hits against physical attack connecting against Pokemon or not. Because as weird as it sounds, although Ancient Power shows rocks being thrown at the target, it still counts as a physical connecting move, which I don't think it ever should have been, because you've always seen it as throwing rocks at the target, right? So it is a physical connecting move, at least it currently is in these generations, I believe. So the fact that Minior's core connected against the Pyakumuku indicates that it might be an Aftermath in which if the Pokemon gets knocked out, it does damage back. Or it might just be, if you hit this thing, maybe it's like Rough Skin, it does damage back. It's hard to say. We don't know what's going to happen until you do some more experimentation with it in-game. But that is Pyakumuku in all its glory. And it's kind of crazy. I don't know if we're going to get to see it if I get to the right screenshot. Yeah, see, there's like a hand kind of thing. The star shape on the front of it, or the almost like the Fire Blast shape, a hand comes out of it. And that must be like the innards that are coming out, of course. But it's kind of freaky looking. It's going to be interesting to see if this thing has an evolution, and if so, what it evolves into. Who knows? Next, we do see another Pokemon. How do you pronounce that? Morello. I don't know. I like this Pokemon in the sense that it is not symmetrical. It is kind of cool that a lot of times you'll see things that are symmetrical in, real life and in the Pokemon games, but you'll see one of the mushrooms is taller than the other one. Of course, there's that middle mushroom as well. This is a Grass Fairy type. I didn't mention the types of the other two. Wishy-Washy is water, and Pyakumuku is water. There we go. Grass Fairy, for this Morello, the abilities are Illuminate and Affect Spore, and I'm pretty sure we've had those abilities thus far. Lantern and Chinchou can have Illuminate. I'm pretty sure that can increase the wild encounter rate. Affect Spore, of course, if you physically connect against this Pokemon, you could be afflicted with burn, sleep, poison, or paralysis. It's funny how Freeze is not one of those status conditions that Affect Spore can give. Everything else it can give you. Regardless, though, we do see some new attack animations, I'm sure, unless this is a whole new attack, but Morello goes for this move here. A giant mushroom appears over its head and shakes back and forth, and then the Mudbray falls asleep. So I'm assuming that's just an updated graphical display of Spore, because of course only mushroom Pokemon can learn Spore. So that is kind of cool, and as I'm going to say, it's going to lead into some kind of confusing stuff. Well, before we get the Team Skull, let's just leave the Team Skull logo on here right now. This is the evil team of the region. They hadn't been mentioning anything about evil teams for quite a while, and there's something I want to say about that as well. But before we talk about that, it's like we're trying to figure out, when we see new trailer footage, is this a new Pokemon attack, or is it a previous attack that's been updated? And it's hard to really tell at this point, because some attacks might look the same, some are probably going to look quite different. In fact, if that was Spore, that is a whole new display for Spore. It kind of throws everything all into the ether. You don't know what's going to happen, like what attacks they show. There could be new attacks we're seeing this entire time. That might not even be Spore. Maybe it's a whole other move. But anyway, they have revealed Evil Team Skull of the Alola region. And I want you, like I said, to watch this trailer. The music for Team Skull is amazing. And I hope it's the in-battle or in-game battle for the Team Skull grunts, because I love this music. It's all, how would I even describe it? Almost kind of like hip-hop kind of thing. Maybe I'm saying that wrong, but it's that. And it's just got this really cool beat to it and stuff, and I can't wait to beat these guys down to the cool beat of Team Skull's grunt music. So we see it just uses a Zubat in battle. Here we see one of the Team Skull admins, I almost said Team Grunt, yeah. One of the Team Skull admins, Plumeria. You know what I mean, right? You picking on my cute, dumb brothers and sisters. So, is really annoying, whatever she says. Anyway, this is an admin of Team Skull. We don't know if it's the only one. Now, a lot of this stuff was revealed in the Koro leak, which, like I say, I don't like to show off on the channel because we don't know exactly what is official, what's confirmed, what's going to make it over to the American version, although this is a worldwide release anyway, but regardless, we don't know everything about it, but she could be the only admin. She's the only one we've seen thus far, and as far as typing, we don't know what type these Team Grunt, or Team Skull, I keep saying Team Grunt, these Team Skull grunts use. I would think maybe Dark and Ghost or something like that, but it's hard to say, really. They do use a Zubat in the trailer, one of the grunts, and Zubat's kind of a common Pokemon that a lot of the teams tend to use against us. But here we see Plumeria, ready for battle, and we see the leader, the big boss of Team Skull, Guzma. And what's interesting about this character now, he's talking to Professor Kukui, saying fellow rejects who could never become captains, referring to himself and Kukui. So we've learned in previous trailers that there are trial captains, which I guess are kind of taking the place of gym leaders. I'm not sure exactly, but Guzma is referring to the fact that both him and Kukui were supposed to be, trying out to be trial captains, but they did not make it. So, wonder, of course, Guzma seems kind of, bitter about that, whereas Kukui seems to have taken up his role as professor quite nicely. But an interesting little tidbit that people might not notice in this. What Guzma says here to Kukui. Want to see what destruction looks like? First of all, look at the guy's face. He's clearly insane. Here it is in human form. It's your boy, Guzma. Guzma is the son of Professor Kukui. He says it right there. Did you fall for it? No, I think it's just him being, it's your boy right here. I'm your boy, right? I can't do that. I seem stupid when I try to say stuff like that. But he is going for it, and I think he pulls it off pretty decently. I like how his glasses have... Wait a minute. All right, I was going to say, I like how his glasses have, one open eye and then one kind of slanted, right? And that's what the logo of the Team Skull bandanas have, on their head. I just realized now, doesn't that look like a sun and maybe a half moon going into crescent moon? Sun and moon? I don't know. I just kind of picked up on that myself right now. It could be. So anyway, that is the leader, Guzma, of Team Skull. And as I said, doesn't he look insane? Look at this. This is his in-battle pose, ready to roll. So it's not clear what they're up to yet in the Alola region. But we're going to find out, of course, as we get through into the game. But more regional variants have been discovered for classic Pokemon. Now, 2 of these have been leaked, of course, in Korokoro. We do get to see Meowth has an Alola form, and it is this one right here. It becomes a dark type. Now, I believe online it says something about, in fact, I'm going to go to Pokemon.com after this and see if there's any information, but it says Meowth was bred in the Alola region to become a dark type by the royal family. So we'll see it has the abilities of Pickup and Technician, and I believe that's what regular Meowth has as well. I think they can get Pickup. I'm not sure exactly. I can't recall. No, wait. I might be thinking Persian has Limber. I'm getting sidetracked. Anyway, let's focus on what is on screen right here. Meowth is a dark type here in the Alola region, and Marowak also gets an Alola form, which is kind of crazy looking. This one becomes a Ghost Fire type. Now you'll notice that it looks a lot thinner than the classic Marowak does, and the bone is on fire. And as I was mentioning about the attacks that have new animation and stuff, look at this thing in battle. It twirls its bone around, the flames spin around wildly. I like that. The abilities are either Lightning Rod, which Marowak has classically, or it could have Rock Head. But the new secondary ability that Alola Form Marowak can have is Cursed Body. So if this Pokemon gets hit by an attack, there is a chance that the attack it was hit with will be disabled on the opponent. Now, talking about new attacks, what we see here, it's fighting against a Haunter. And it goes for what looks like Bone Club, but there is fire swirling around the bone. So this is probably a new attack, some sort of a flame Bone Club. But it makes, I believe, the super effective sound, so it's probably a ghost type attack. So interesting, a Bone Club attack. What if they make this a fire and ghost type attack? Because we've seen dual type attacks, at least one of them in the Flying Press of Hawlucha, which is a simultaneously flying and fighting type attack. And in a way, we've seen stuff like that with Freeze Dry, which is a water move, but it has the effect of being super effective on water types. So this could be a new sort of an attack featuring something like that. And we do see another new form in Raichu for the Alola region. And this one kind of blew everyone by surprise. Alola Form Raichu. What is kind of neat about this, it becomes Electric Psychic. And if you see it in battle, it's hard to see without it moving, but it is hovering on top of its own tail. Right there, you can see it's like kind of surfing on its tail. And it must be the psychic powers keeping it in the air. But what is neat is the ability Surge Surfer. If we can check this out. It goes for a psychic move on Machamp here. When Electric Terrain is in effect, Alolan Raichu's speed is doubled. So that's kind of, I guess, the idea of it surfing on the tail. If there's electricity around, like you would think it would have Levitate, but no, Surge Surfer allows it to double speed when the Electric Terrain is active. And people have already been saying, if this combines with Tapu Koko, the legendary mythical fairy type that is on one of the islands, Melee Island, when it comes into battle, its ability, Electric Surge, I think, makes electric terrain happen immediately. At that point, Alolan Raichu suddenly gets double the speed. So those two could be a good combination. They're both going to be weak to ground, though, so you got to consider that. If you can get some nice ground-type coverage, that could be a way to go. And I think that is all they show for the new trailer. And if that is it, I'm going to go to Pokemon.com. Bear with me as I type it in here. So we're going to check out all these Pokemon now, starting with Morolol. See what it says about this particular Pokemon. There's the Illuminating Pokemon Grass Fairy, of course. We know the abilities. And Morolol are nocturnal Pokemon that walk around at night on their leg-like roots. They move because staying in one spot and sucking all the nutrients from the soil would cause surrounding plants to wither. So they're very considerate of their environment. Morolol uses its leg-like roots to make contact with its fellows and communicate with them. Morolol broadcasts spores that glow brightly when they burst open. Looking at their pulsing light has a soporific effect. Not sure what that word means. It seems that in times of danger, Morolol broadcasts these spores. So, kind of standard information for this Pokemon. Probably like a standard, almost like maybe a Paris or a Shroomish kind of thing. Here is Pyakumuku, the sea cucumber Pokemon. I want to check out the ability, though. First of all, Pyakumuku hate to have their spikes and mouths touched, and if you step on one, it will hurl out its fist-like inner organs to strike at you. Nice. Very charming. Pyakumuku has a new ability, Innards Out, which no other Pokemon has had before. When this Pokemon faints, it will be able to deal one last bit of damage to its opponent equal to the amount of HP it had left before it received the final blow. So you want to slightly whittle this thing down before you knock it out. Alright. Now, it doesn't say if it's a physical connecting move or not, because like I said, that was confusing in the trailer with the Ancient Power, but the more HP it has when you knock it out, the more recoil you take from that. That is good to know. Keep that in mind for when we begin our adventures in Alola, everybody. So another new Pokemon is the Wishiwashi. Now, let's see if we can get some more information about the schooling. With schooling, Wishiwashi can change form in battle to their school form under certain conditions. Very mysterious. We do not know what that means, of course. Does it give us more information about the different form, though? Yeah, it says solo form. Let's see if they give us the school form. There it is. All right. Still called the small fry Pokemon, however. Schooling says the same thing. Okay. Let me see what this is. The seemingly weak Wishiwashi is called the Demon of the Sea because of its terrifying school form. When it receives an SOS signal, they unite in this huge battle formation. Wishiwashi that have encountered many dangerous situations and have a lot of experience calling on their allies will be able to emit bright light from their eyes. They can gather allies and transform into an even more powerful Pokemon. Even Gyarados flee from Wishiwashi's school form. Interesting stuff. Alright, next we see the Alolan Marowak. Fire Ghost, of course. Nothing new here. There are many... So, it says something like it adapted to deal with its own predators, which were, like, say, grass and ice types. There are many grass-type Pokemon in the Alola region. This makes Alola a harsh environment for Cubone and Marowak. As a result, they live in close union with their partners. It's said that great care for their partners allowed them to gain something like a sixth sense and resulted in their changed form. Now, people have been saying in their videos and on Twitter and such, we only saw the Marowak Alolan region form. We haven't seen Cubone. Is there going to be an Alolan Cubone? We don't know, but this kind of makes reference to the fact that there might be, and they might just be hiding it from us for the time being. What if Alolan Cubone doesn't wear the skull? What if we're going to get to see Cubone's face finally? That could be something. Maybe that's why they're not showing it yet. Anyway, that is the Alolan Marowak. Let's check out the Alolan Meowth next, or Raichu. Fair enough. Electric Psychic, of course. Surge Surfer. And as it mentions, it's going to be double speed with the electric terrain. Raichu has electric sacs on its cheeks, and rubbing them causes a sweet aroma to be released. Aww. The mechanism behind this is not clear, but it's thought to be connected to the psychic power that the Alolan Raichu possesses. And now we're going to see that Meowth, and I think this should be all the new Pokemon. Still the Scratch Cat Pokemon. The once rare Alolan Meowth became feral when the monarchy was destroyed, and they have now become regular Pokemon seen as commonly in the Alola region as elsewhere, except, of course, different typing. That is all the information, it seems. There's more flavor text you guys can check out yourself on, of course, Pokemon-sunmoon.com. We're back to the other Pokemon. Now, let's look at Team Skull. In the Alola region, a group of ruffians known as Team Skull causes a lot of trouble. They steal other people's Pokemon, mess up the trial sites, and delight in all kinds of evil deeds. We're going to start with a boss, of course. Team Skull boss, Guzma. Guzma is the boss of Team Skull, who holds these ruffians together. Guzma pours on the attacks, battling without mercy. He certainly does seem strong, but he claims to be one of those who never could become captains. He seems to have a bone to pick with Professor Kukui as well. Nice phrasing. And here, Team Skull's admin, Plumeria. She's considered the big sister of Team Skull. She's a tough lady who keeps Team Skull in line and working together in the same way a strict older sister would. She seems to care for the grunts who are below her in the pecking order, and she's not one to let it go if someone's given them a walloping. So she sounds like she's going to be quite the vengeful sort if we do some damage to Team Skull, which I am sure we're going to do as we play through the game. The Team Skull grunts, both male and female Team Skull grunts, wear matching black skull tanks. And these uniforms aren't even provided for them. All grunts have to buy their own. That's kind of sad. But I suppose, kind of makes sense, I guess. You know, why would they provide the uniforms if they're like an evil organization? And like, well, that's the thing. As far as evil organization, all we know thus far, going back up, is that they delight in evil deeds. Okay, I guess they are evil. They mess up the trial sites and they steal Pokemon. All right, so I was going to say, we're not sure what they're up to, but that kind of explains it. Now, we know there's going to be a bigger scheme in mind behind these guys. Quite often it refers to the legendary Pokemon, and we're going to probably see stuff like that again. I don't mean to sound as bored with it as I am. It's just, you know, that's the standard format, standard pattern that we tend to go through for the game. So they might kind of mix things up. They're mixing a lot of stuff up in this game. It seems like there's not going to be standard gyms anymore. There are new forms of previous Pokemon. So there are so many different things happening. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a whole different scheme in mind for Team Skull and Guzma here. So I believe that is all the information we have to go on for this new trailer. The Pokemon have been revealed. Team Skull has been discussed. That is about it that I have for this episode, this video. So feel free to throw some comments down below, folks. Let's get some interaction going on, some discussion happening. What do you think of the stuff they've revealed for the new Pokemon Sun and Moon games right now? The team, what do you think their grand scheme is going to be, if there is a grand scheme? And what do you think of the new forms of Pokemon and the new Pokemon themselves, the new abilities and everything? I'm kind of overwhelmed with all this stuff. I just looked at the trailer myself before recording this, so I'm not sure what to make of everything, but I'm sure I'm going to start digesting it like a Pyakumuku at some point with my, not with my innards out, but I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's kind of gross. Anyway, this is kind of interesting stuff. Feel free to leave some comments below, and let's just talk about what's happening with this whole new region. There's a lot of new interesting stuff happening in Sun and Moon. In fact, you know what? I just noticed Guzma has a tattoo on his arm of the skull logo. Plumeria has it on her stomach there. We don't see the grunts with it at all, but we do see that the two main characters of Team Skull do have tattoos of the logos. That's kind of interesting. Anyway, I'm going to sign off for the day. We have our trailer. Feel free to click it in the description. Check it out. Check out that music of Team Skull. It is pretty awesome. With all that, Professor Chaz is signing off, and I'll catch you next time.